The Absolute Beginners League has a history of camaraderie amongst its members. Aimed at encouraging and teaching drivers of all skill levels, it revels in maintaining a friendly atmosphere. So once the pressures of the championship have ended each season, to reinforce that philosophy, they've held a unique tradition. We'll get to witness that wonderful event once again as we get ready to watch the Absolute Beginners League Race of Champions, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Ryan Bauer, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. This time around, the ROC takes place on Bathurst for the first time ever. Let's head to our track guide to learn more about the course. Welcome to Mount Panorama Circuit. Most drivers simply refer to this place as Bathurst, with it being located just to the southwest of the city's major hub. But most ominously, and perhaps appropriately, it's been nicknamed the Mountain. With more than 500 feet of elevation change over the course of a lap, it's easy to understand why. Though originally built for racing, it's become a street circuit over time, with the track itself used for regular traffic and featuring residential housing all along the roads. This makes this 4-mile, 23-turn course incredibly unique in the world of racing. In the past, the track has hosted a variety of types of cars, including open-wheelers. But modern safety standards means that most competitive racing has now been limited to sports cars and touring cars. However, the dangers are very real due to the incredibly high speeds and lack of runoff throughout much of the circuit. The quickest parts are the run up the mountain straight towards Griffin's Bend, and then the flat-out blast back down the Conrad Straight and into the chase. This chicane was added in the late 80s to break up the run down to Murray's Corner. But while most chicanes are derided for ruining the character of a track, the terrifying speed as you approach it and the general difficulty make it fit right in with Bathurst challenges. However, the toughest portions are undoubtedly along the mountain itself, with notorious corners like the Cutting, Brock's Skyline, the Dipper, and Forest's Elbow. In fact, one of the more unique worries of this course is that all of these parts are so narrow that track blockages due to wrecks are not uncommon in the first few laps. The Australian fans often line the fences and hillsides to witness the daredevil spectacle of drivers trying to claim King of the Mountain. You can't blame them with how rare of a sight a track like Bathurst is today. Well, DJ, it's the old version of the Ford Falcon and Mount Panorama, but I have to say, as much as they go together, I get the sense this is not going to be like a race we've seen before here.
You've got that right, Joe. It is going to be something different altogether entirely. Mount Panorama Circuit, obviously no stranger to anyone who knows racing across the world or on the iRacing service. And in these cars, they're going to be able to take to it well, but the big kick is going to be, as we know the rules for this Race of Champions, it is going to be a situation where track limits are, well, they're not really followed. So the drivers are going to be able to make up some time at a couple of points around the track. We've seen a lot of good being able to cut through off track on Skyline is going to be helpful for them, as well as, and this I think is actually going to be a key talking point over the course of the race, deciding when to take the jump. We've heard a lot of people try to talk about it of, well, I can gain a lot of time doing it, but I may ruin the car. So we'll have to see what people decide to do.
No doubt about that, but it'll give us a lot of fun to watch. Now, race details. This is the end of season 23. It's the Race of Champions, so this is a non-championship round. This is just for fun. And there, the Ford supercar, the Ford Falcon is what they're running, the 2014 version here on iRacing. And it's based heat format. We'll go over that in detail in a moment. There's going to be 8 drivers per heat with 10 drivers in the finale. And as was mentioned, track limits are entirely optional. If you can make it work, it counts, and that includes even cut course penalties. You don't have to worry about those here today. And I do believe that we have one of the drivers that will be competing ready to talk to us, and one of the guys that helps organize this thing, Johan Vanderbilt. Johan, welcome up to the booth. We haven't gone into details about how this all works. With the points and the advancement, from what I understand, we will have the top, I believe it was the top 6 in points advance for the finale. Is that correct?
Hey Joe, I hope you can all hear me. It is the top, or at least the bottom 6 will go to the quarterfinal. The 4 above that to the semifinal, and the rest will go to the grand final. So yes, the 6 best drivers will go to that final.
That makes sense to me. Now, in that, we mentioned briefly about the fact that the track limits are entirely optional around here. Drivers can try and get creative. Obviously, the jump is the big one, and I would say Skyline, another place where drivers can take advantage of some paved runoff. But is there any other spots that you found that you didn't expect that could be useful?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. So Skyline is actually one of the most difficult ones to get right, because you bottom out there if you cut a chicane, and if you bottom out, you might just lose it and cause a gigantic wreck behind you. So that's a really interesting one. You obviously have to jump, and also the final corner is a place where you can cut the track. Although only the final corner, I would only do that if you actually have done the jump and if you suffer a little bit of damage, because that's only the real moment that you'll gain an advantage doing so.
So something for us to watch out for today. What are the cars feeling like out there? The Ford Falcon, from what I can recall, maybe a little bit more powerful than some of the other cars you've used in these Race of Champions before.
It's great fun because we're drifting through every corner. It feels really, really fun to drive these. But that's also one of the big disadvantages, I think, for the people, is that people are not used to this car, and basically trying to not only keep it on in a straight line around the mountain, but also making that jump. I think a lot of people will struggle with that. And if there's anyone in Australia at the moment who is looking for some used Ford parts, set up shop below the mountain, and you'll get a lot of totaled cars soon, because it's going to be mayhem.
Well, thankfully, everybody's got plenty of spare cars for that. Now, you do have some contingencies. It sounds like there's red flags that are able to be thrown if things get a little too messy up on the hill, since it is so narrow. Can you describe to the audience what are kind of the situations the stewards are looking for to restart races?
Yeah, so that's usually when something major happens. Basically, imagine in Formula One, if one person crashes, that usually is like a yellow flag and they will continue racing. But if there's a multiple car accident, then they will throw out a safety car or a red flag. And that's basically what we have as well. So if a lot of people are involved in an accident, that's when we will neutralize the race and we'll reset it one lap back. But to be honest, that kind of will depend on basis per crash, and the race stewards will communicate live when something like that is necessary.
Well, that seems clear enough to me. Thanks for filling us in on a number of things, Johan. Best of luck out there, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you some more.
Oh, I'll need the luck. Thanks, guys. See you soon.
That was Johan Vanderbilt. Glad to have him around in the booth again. Obviously used to commentate with us here on GSRC. Try to duck him in here every once in a while. DJ, I am looking forward to this, because these Race of Champions races are always a lot of fun, but this is definitely far different from anything that I've ever seen them do for them in the previous ROC rounds.
Most certainly, Joe. This just sort of has a sort of, Wild West feeling to it, where anything can happen. We ride on board with Neil Stevenson. You get a good onboard of that jump. Oh, and stuck the landing. Nice job, Neil, but see, he keeps it back under him. And that's going to be one of the interesting things to see if anybody does decide to take that jump. You can land back on all 4 tires and be fine, but the speed and the weight transfer that happens when you hit back on the ground, that can really throw you into a loop if you're not careful.
We're riding on board with Johan now, watching him get some last little practice in. Now, let's get a little bit into the nitty-gritty, of course, of how these heat formats will work. These are all going to be 2-lap races, granted not complete 2 laps. Just due to the nature of this format, they're going to have to do some things manually, which means the start line will be a little bit up the mountain straight, but the finish line is where it normally is. There are going to be 4 heats, and each of them have 8 drivers. Each driver will run in 2 heats, and they will rack up points. Top 5 at the finish of each 2-lap heat will score points, from 5 points for win down to 1 for 5th, and then a few drivers don't score any points. Top in the points advance, as we mentioned, automatically, and then a few will go to the quarterfinals, where only 2 will automatically advance. Semifinals will see 4, and the feature will see 10 drivers. So if that doesn't make sense to you, don't worry. We'll try and keep you up to speed as everything progresses, as we've been given plenty of tools at our disposal to make sure that we at least are abreast of what is happening out there. As far as temperature goes, at least it looks like that is ideal for our drivers, which again goes back to what we were talking about, DJ, that they're aiming for fun today, not necessarily serious competition.
No, not at all. You know, they're just coming off of another really, really great and competitive season, and this is a good way for the guys in ABL to wind down. That 82 degrees, it's just about as perfect as you can imagine. You're not going to really have to worry too much about the tires getting too cold or the tires being too hot. On a 2-lap stint like this, it's going to be relatively easy to keep everything gathered up under them.
There's Stevenson, not as successful this time over the jump. It looks like we are getting ready for them to grid up soon, I think, for this first race, because they're calling a few drivers out soon. So as soon as they start to line up, we'll give you that starting order. All in all, if this is your first time watching the Absolute Beginners League Race of Champions, welcome. Don't expect a lot of seriousness out there. This is all just basically for fun and just blowing off steam after the season gives them all the serious stuff. The drivers in the first heat already pulling out, so let's go through our starting order for the first heat. It is going to be Bram Claes, who starts on the pole position. Then it is Neil Stevenson, who will be on the inside of row 1. Christopher Giros will be in the inside of row 2. And then it's Vincent Brame starting in fourth overall, with Frederick Neptune in 5th, David Burns in 6th, Johan Vanderbilt in 7th, and Andre Solander in 8th.
Well, Joe, and I think this is going to provide some good action. We've got some of the headline drivers from the Absolute Beginners League in David Burns, Vincent Bream, Andre Solander, Frederick Neptune. Those are names you hear us call out week after week. Gyros as well, starting back in the order. So they're going to be looking to make their way forward. No, this is a race for fun, but you better believe the competitive instincts come in and kick in when they get going, no matter what.
No doubt about that, as you see them trying to get themselves into position. Takes a little bit. Again, since this is all manual, they kind of have to pay attention to where they are supposed to be, and they do have someone instructing them, thankfully. Some may be trying to gain a little bit of an advantage there, as I saw some tire smoke from Neptune trying to get the rear tires heated up and maybe get them a little bit more sticky when we take off. Looks like they're just about ready to go. Yeah, they're waiting on our pole sitter, actually, Claes, who is coming on out. There's Bram now. Benelux driver trying to get himself up to the front. Everybody else is good to go. And this will be a rolling start, and it will be up to the pole sitter to determine when they take off. But the start line, as we mentioned, is effectively at the first bridge on the mountain straight.
Doing a few more of those burnouts, just trying to get as much as they can into those tires. Waiting for everybody to line up. It is going to be a good run down into that sharp right-hander. That's going to be a very good passing zone, and I think it will be definitely a place that you see more than a few kerfluffles as we get going here in these heat races.
See everybody lined up, so at this point, I guess they're waiting for the stewards to give them the go-ahead. Take off on the sort of pace lap, if you will. And Bram waiting there on your left side of the screen there in the number 19, flanked by Neil Stevenson in the 1, who we saw take a few of the jumps. Waiting for them to get going as we hop on board with Bram. Now we get cruising. And the 19 will have control. And it looks like actually he is going right away as they accelerate away. Green flag here for the first heat of the afternoon in the Race of Champions for the Absolute Beginners League. Down into Griffin's Bend. Stevenson trying to stay ahead of Giros, who almost gets by, but they quickly get single file.
Yeah, and they're going to have to stay a little bit single file here up through the mountain. No matter what car you are in, it is very, very difficult to effect a pass here. A lot of brake smoke behind. Oh, that's Stevenson around.
Wow, from second place all the way to the back of the group, down to 8th. So up at the front, that gives a good gap to Bram, as second is still being challenged. Brame just behind Giros, coming up and over the various swift left-handers, taking you to McPhillamy Park. And this is one of the first places where you can start to see some cut courses happen, where drivers can try and take it a little bit quicker. But Bram, interestingly, stays on the racing line.
Well, remember what Johan van der Velde was talking to us about earlier, that risk of bottoming out can really hurt you, but it looks like Bram made a little bit of a mistake there. Christopher Giros able to really, really close up behind him, lock up a little bit ever so slightly for Bram as they start to make their way down the hill.
Ooh, and Christopher has got a great run off of Forest Elbow. In fact, he's already pulling side by side. Momentum seems to be a little bit in the favor of that number 15. As they come through the kink, are they going to try and outbrake each other down into the chase? Christopher has a slight advantage with a nose ahead. And, cutting across. Bram, is he going to actually try the jump in the first lap? He is! Oh, but he fails at it spectacularly!
Oh, Joe, and Christopher Giros messed up the corner coming through the chase, and he spun as well. That's going to promote him back down the field, demote him, rather. I believe that puts Frederick Neptune in the lead of this heat.
I see David Burns actually up at the very front. David able to successfully take the jump, judging by the damage on the back of his car. So your order now is David Burns ahead of Vincent Brame, who runs in second, Johan van der Velde in third. And it looks like Frederick Neptune is actually running fourth currently.
You are correct, Joe. Our live timing and scoring not exactly helping us on this, and the relative was lying to me on it. So David Burns, your reigning champion right now, he is out front working away.
And he has got quite a gap over those behind him as we watch this battle down into Griffin's Bend. For fourth position, Neptune a little bit too hard into the turn, and Giros is going to take advantage. That gets him up into P4. At this point, those ahead of him, it's mainly about survival.
Exactly, and Joe, you can see there, both with Giros and Neptune, however we're watching, and even with our leader there, David Burns, under acceleration and under braking, these heavy tin tops, you can see the wobble that is developing. These cars are so heavy and so overpowered, they are very, very difficult to keep pointing in a straight line.
Interesting modifications on the back of that lead car right now, and Neptune is going to try and cut through Skyline. Looks like he was successful. Wonder if Burns is going to be slow in a straight line, because he's just hit Conrad, and it looks like he's up to 150 already. Those behind him picking up pace. Now, the gap from what we can see on screen is so wide, even if he was slow, not going to be much of an issue. But, interestingly, he's going to take the safe route. He's not going to risk the jump.
I think that's just a safety call for him. He knows he doesn't need to do it, but we watch here Frederick Neptune trying to chase down Giros. I'm not going to be surprised if Giros decide. No, neither of them take the jump here. Everybody deciding to play it nice and cautious.
And we got to go to Burns because he's going to take the win in the first heat. So he will have a nice handy 5 points with van der Velde taking second. Then it's going to be Vincent Brame in the 25 who will round out the podium. Barely ahead of his teammate Neptune. Christopher Giros, who took that position on that lap, is going to finish fourth. Neptune eventually gets to fifth. You can see him spinning in the background, and he'll be followed by Stevenson. Last of the drivers actually able to finish, it appears, on this first heat. Well, that was wild. I was a bit shocked to see so many drivers attempt the jump on that first lap.
I agree with you, Joe, but as you can tell, it's a high-risk, high-reward zone. If you're able to do it and pull it off, great. You gain a lot of time by doing it, but the problem is that we saw all that damage on David Burns' car, and we saw exactly how it can just affect the overall handling of the car as the race goes along. So I'm really thinking that some of these drivers in the second and third heat, if I'm them, I'm going to be waiting to take that jump until the second lap.
That would be my advice, but again, easier to talk up here than be down in the car and get the heat of the moment washing over you. Believe we're waiting on the next grid to be called here. Stewards haven't quite put them out on track yet, so we got a moment before we get our next heat running. But that was certainly educational. Like you said, those who have been watching probably should have been taking notes. There we go. We got a couple of them starting to slowly work their way out. Again, 8 cars per heat, so shouldn't have to wait too long for most of them to eventually exit the pit lane. And now they have finally announced the next group. So your starting positions will be Christopher Crook in P1. It'll be Wojciech Podozek in P2. Scott Malcolm starts in 3rd. Eric Lukl will be in 4th. Then you've got Ludwig Sauer starting P5. 6th goes to Michael Haflidace and Joost Jonk in 7th, and Josh Brain in 8th. You mentioned a few drivers you were watching out for last time. Any of them really catch your eye on this one, DJ?
Well, I've got to say, Wojciech Podozek starting off in 2nd. He is one of the series organizers. He had a very, very good second half of the Formula Neagle season, so he's been always good to come alive with. Ludwig Sauer and Eric Lukl, both very, very good drivers as well. But the junkyard dog, Joe, Joost Jonk, he's starting all the way back, second to last. He is in that familiar hot dog colored car, and that is where my eyes are going to be, is watching that pink and yellow car.
And kind of shuffling their way into position. So if we start immediately this time again, or if we're going to cruise up to that starting point. Looks like back there, Ludwig Sauer, Joost Jonk getting into position, and now Josh Brain as well. So all 8 are lined up. They're given the go-ahead and starting on their way. Much slower start for this group, not taking off immediately. When will Crook decide? He gets to choose when it is time to go. And that number 9, he is on the teal donut car, and now he goes. Number 9 accelerates away. Podozek caught sleeping a little bit. Lukl taking a look as they come up to Griffin's Bend, but can't get beside him. Everybody hurries into the first corner, and it looks clean so far.
We will see how long that lasts. They make their way up the hill. That battle for second place really heating up. Lukl and Halfdanson really struggling with each other. Ooh, that was a big lockup from Wojciech Podozek. That's going to put Lukl right up alongside him, trying to ride over the curbs.
You can see those cold tires really come into effect as the 28 was sliding around as Halfdanson smacks the wall. So that is going to hurt for him. Up at the front of it all, Christopher Crook is unchallenged, and it is Lukl who has snuck into second, trying to see if he can chase him down.
He's going to try to, but Crook just looks like he is the absolute class of the field. Pretty much everybody taking that little shortcut through Skyline there. You can hear the cars bottoming out as they do it. They now head their way down the hill. And Joe, this is where the drivers are going to start thinking about strategy. I would not be surprised at this point. Whoa, big lockups there from second and third of Lukl and Podozek.
Crook as well, just billowing smoke out of those tires as they pick up speed. Thankfully didn't lose too much time. Who is going to take the jump this time? We ride on board with Lukl, and in front of him, I'm watching to see if Crook's going to try and stay with it. No, he'll be on the racing line. But Podozek is going to risk it. He's going to try and go over the jump. He makes it, but can he pull away? Yes, he's got it. The 28 is going to take the lead with a daring move.
High risk, high reward. Oh, but he goes for the Tokyo Drift around the final corner. Oh, and he runs into the leader, Christopher Crook.
I think managed to just get away with that one as he stays ahead. But that means that for brief moments, Podozek had a taste of the lead. Let's watch the replay. There's the jump and sticks the landing just barely. Wow, he came awful close to the wall.
And I thought for sure that that car was going to have a little bit more of vertical spin problems the way he caught the lip there, but able to get it back there. You can see Crook coming around, just a little love tap to know that he is there.
Oh, but Crook is struggling.
Crook has actually smacked the wall coming through Griffin's Bend, and now Lucal might have a chance to get by, but that car is weaving a whole bunch. And it's going to be tough to try and overtake. Christopher deep into the corner, looking to accelerate off. We have a drag race up the hill.
Oh, here they go. You can see all that damage on Crook's car. The rear of it really struggling. Oh, hard into the wall, Crook.
And that caused a little damage for Eric Lucal. This one is totally up in the air compared to last time. Halfledason now seeing if he could overtake Lucal. They come through McPhillamy Park. A little bit of a lockup for Halfledason, plunging over the crest of Skyline. Down the hill, both of them going to take the shortcut as they head into the Dipper. Halfledason, if he can get a good launch coming off of Forest Elbow, he's got a great shot at managing to get up in front of the lead, but a giant question mark hangs over both their heads. Who takes the jump and who can take it safely?
I think both of these drivers don't want to risk anything. I would imagine that they're both going to go for the jump here. Now, on the long straight, the Conrad straight, here we go, lining it up. Who's going straight ahead?
Halfledason's got a good slipstream. Do they stay straight? No, they take your advice. Both of them sticking to the track. It's a game of chicken who can break latest, and Lucal looks like he's good, but he gets a poor exit. Halfledason trying to accelerate off, and here comes Potacek once again. Gonna try the jump, and he's off and hits the wall. That takes him out of the equation. Halfledason almost into the back and into the side now. Both of them in the wall. Can anybody get up there in front of them? Ludwig Sauer is coming quickly as Halfledason tries to accelerate away. This is gonna be awful close. Gets tipped coming across, and Halfledason takes the win as second goes to Malcolm, third to Lucal, and poor Ludwig Sauer has to turn it back around to finish.
Oh my goodness gracious, talk about a finish, Joe. Just absolute confusion all the way through to the end.
This was incredible. We're watching from Wojciech's perspective, and Halfledason is the one in the end that takes the win. A close moment for the number 28, as he did get over it, but he was just locked into the wall, and it looks like he caught an edge of it that just sent him around.
Yeah, you can see the car start to get a little out of whack going up the hill. There it is, and bam, there is that hit, sending him spinning around. Bit of a shame that he couldn't do it, and you saw Halfledason there. That was not a malicious move. He was just trying to find anything that he could, jumped over those inside curbs that upset the car just enough. And then here comes Sauer. He gets hit at the line looking down for a surefire second, and that allowed for them to just move their way forward.
Wild stuff for the second heat. So after that, we still have a tie up at the front currently. Burns and Halfledason with a win each are leading the way through of those who will automatically advance to the grand finale. And that will also determine their starting position for that feature race. So it is important to get as many points as possible. Now we're going to see some repeats mixed in between the first heat and the second heat. And if you didn't have a good one last time, now's the time to try and make up for it.
Exactly, and this is also going to pit some of those headline drivers against each other once again. Really start to stack it, and you know, it's classic heat racing style, Joe. If at first you don't succeed, try again. Let's see if they can get a little bit more lucky with the damage model.
Here's the starting order for this one. It's Jost Jonk on the pole with Johan Vanderbilt starting in second. Ludwig Sauer will start P3, Frederick Neptune in fourth. Inside of the third row, it's Scott Malcolm with Christopher Giros to his outside. Six goes to Christopher Crook, and then it's Bram Claes who starts on tail end. Charlie, I do believe, nope, we just got 7 of them out there right now, waiting for our 8th person in.
Just waiting for everybody to line up here. And one of the things to consider that is really becoming apparent is a lot of the tentativeness to take that jump at the end. We've seen the massive amounts of damage that it can do. Obviously, Wojciech Potacek on that first lap proving how effective it can be to take the jump, but it just destroys the car. And as Potacek proved on the last lap of that heat race, if there is just a millimeter off when you're coming across, it can end your race very quickly.
See, drivers have been paying attention. Look at this. These are our leaders, our front rows, moving back and forth. They are trying to heat up those tires as we wait for the last car to get out here. I think we're missing Bram right now, which is who we were waiting on in the first one. So someone needs to get him a better watch, apparently.
Yeah, but here we go.
He's not coming out. All right, we're only going to have 7 in this one. He missed the boat as we take off on our pace lap. Used Junk with control, still weaving and doing his best to get some heat in the tires. When does he accelerate away? Certainly leading them very slowly off, and now he goes. Used Junk is off. Green flag is out for the 3rd heat of the afternoon and the race of champions. And it's going to be a battle for 3rd between Sauer and Neptune. Neptune to the outside as they approach Griffin's Bend. Looks like Sauer is going to be able to claim that 3rd spot.
A little bit more orderly here on the opening stages of this lap. You can see then the 2 donut machines just fighting bitterly right there, trying to find something. Gyros very angry about it. Looks like that was Neptune running a little bit wide. I think he may have tagged the wall ever so slightly.
And that isn't the end of the race for him, obviously, but if he damages that car, it's going to make trying to keep up very difficult up in the McPhillamy Park once again. Jonk has not been able to stretch away from Vanderbilt and Sauer, who really told tight to the rear of that number 13. Down through the dipper. And as they accelerate off of there, all of them pushing at 10/10 to try and get as much as they can. There's only 2 laps in these races, so you got to make hay while the sun shines.
Exactly. Big lockups there. It looks like, I think that's Sauer having a little bit of a problem getting everything slowed down. Oh, you can see this is the Vanderbilt, Johan Vanderbilt, right up behind Used Junk, trying to find something, anything to get going here. Tucks his way out in the draft. Who's going to take the jump, Joe?
Will either of them risk it? Johan didn't want to risk it, but Just did. All 3 of our leaders go over it, but unfortunately for Sauer, he weaves to the left, and the road is just not going to continue there, so he plows into the tires. Up at the front, Johan Vanderbilt is now ahead of Jonk after the first lap.
And Joe, how did Used Junk keep that car pointed in the right direction? He landed almost diagonally on the track. Amazing car control to keep that thing wound together.
Really incredible stuff as you see them now work their way towards it. Yeah, and poor Johan was just on the wrong side of things. He really didn't. I'm amazed that he made it over the jump himself. That was incredible from Jonk. He also barely missed the barrier.
Yeah, here, this is amazing. This will be an onboard. Yeah, Jonk, no intention to go on anything but the jump, is able to barely get it wound up. You see him working furiously at that wheel. Oh my goodness gracious. Thank your guardian angel today, Used.
Johan Vanderbilt still leading the way in that number 18, with the 13 following behind in second. In fact, he's being challenged by Sauer. Now, they are allowed to go in and get into a spare car in these races. That's how Ludwig is able to get back out and still be in 3rd position. We rode on board with him there for a brief moment as he chases the 13.
Yeah, and there he goes, trying to do something there, but he's going to have a good way to go back. I'm going to assume on this lap that based off of Used Junk's decision on the last lap that he's going to want to go for the jump again, so Sauer's going to know that he's going to have that in his brain.
A small correction for myself. I believe Sauer is actually now a lap down because he did not complete the first lap. If they take a tow, they effectively restart the lap that they were on. So I do not believe he will be finishing in 3rd. And Vanderbilt's going to try the jump again. It worked the first time. Can it work the second time? Yes, it does. The 18 is up and over successfully. Jonk is not over successfully. He spins. And Vanderbilt...
Oh!
And Vanderbilt takes the victory here in Heat 3. Jonk is able to cruise it back to a second, but behind him, it's a battle between Neptune, Gyros, and Crook. Neptune ahead. Crook spins around his teammate as Sauer comes across just ahead of Gyros.
And Gyros going to cross the line backwards here. And Joe, that Oh, that I let out there. That was Yost Young's Danny Sullivan impression. That car was in a full spin. He was able to catch it, gather it back up under him, and keep going. Yet again, amazing car control from the Junkyard Dog.
Let's watch the replay. Yeah, smacked the wall hard. And then able to get the car moving. Wow, the engine was not happy. I'm amazed that this thing made it to the finish. In fact, well, on the replay, it shows that he took a tow. Are we watching the wrong one, potentially? I'm not sure.
That's Yost's car. I don't know what happened there because I definitely saw somebody do a beautiful little spin and catch it back around. I thought it was Yost, but I clearly am mistaken.
Double checking is the 13 in the meantime takes a few spins in celebration. And we are going to have our next group, our final group, up and gridding up very soon. Now, that's the final group in the heats, however. After this, we go to the quarterfinals, then to the semifinals, and finally the grand finale. Looks like the drivers are indeed gridding up. So your order for this final heat is going to be Josh Brain starting it on the pole. Andre Solander starts in second. Michael Haflidason will be P3 and David Burns in P4. Row 3 has Eric Lukul to the inside. Then it's Vincent Brame to his right. Wojciech Podolzek will start in 7th, and Neil Stevenson rounds out our 8-car field.
Yeah, this is going to be another good one to watch. Keep an eye again on David Burns in that zebra pink and black scheme. He is going to be one that I think is going to try to be coming up his way through the field.
After that last one, Johan Vanderbilt actually leads with a tie between second and third. David Burns and Michael Haflidason on 5 points each. Frederick Neptune and Scott Malcolm in a tie behind them, or with Yost Junk as well. 4 points for all 3 of those cars. So certainly looking interesting among them. And of course, they do have to be concerned about any ties, because that may be settled by rules that I will have to clarify in a little bit here. But we've got all 8 of them out on track this time as we wait for them to accelerate away. Brain has control, waiting patiently. He's waited a long time, the longest of anybody, and now he accelerates away. The 946 is off, and this is a challenge for second as Haflidason's on his inside, breaking way deep, much later than Solander. And unfortunately, Solander's also going to lose third, because there goes Lukul.
Lukul making a good run there. Haflidason really has the car wound up under him here. I thought for sure he was going to blow that corner wide, but he's able to get it up. Ooh, big wiggle there from Josh Brain, but he's able to keep it pointed the right way.
Ooh, and a challenge for the lead. Haflidason looking on the inside of Josh Brain as they come up and over the hill. Josh fends him off, and it gets very narrow in this portion. It's going to be hard, but he's going to try it anyways. Haflidason sticks his nose in McPhillamy Park, and he's actually going to make the pass.
That should not happen, Joe. I don't know how the heck he managed to pull that off, but move Michael Haflidason up into the lead. I thought for a second Josh Brain was going to lose that to Lukul. Oh, but there goes Haflidason into the wall.
Is this going to be a position back for Brain? They're kind of checked up, and the car looks a little out of control. Haflidason into the wall once again, tries to stay out of him, brakes and drifts it around. Oh, he nudges him into the wall. Haflidason and Brain fall back down the order with damaged cars as Eric Lukul now inherits the lead.
Lukul inherits the lead. Absolute chaos behind. Oh, Haflidason hard into the wall, as well as Neil Stevenson.
Just getting tangled up with one another, those damaged cars, hard to drive in a straight line. Are we seeing anybody take the jump? Yep, Vincent Brame's going to risk it. He goes over the leap, and he's going to land it. No, but he doesn't stick it. He's in the wall. He's going to have heavy damage from that one, and Wojciech Podolzek is going to be successful through. I think he took the jump as well. Oh, but he spins it.
He did, and he spins it, and Bream got into the back of him. Podolzek able to gather the car back up under him now. So just to reset very quickly, it is now Vincent Bream, Eric Lukul, Andre Solander, and David Burns for your top 4.
How damaged is the number 25 after that smack with the wall on the right? He looks pretty slow in a straight line because here comes Lukel with a huge head of steam up the mountain straight on the final lap. And he's going to be through as the 42 manages to get by. He is through, but can he keep it clean? Other drivers have struggled with that in this heat. Brame still limping around, is in second.
And Andre Solander behind him really starting to dog his footsteps as well. That car, oh, and there goes around. That's him spinning.
Vincent Brame going to lose his P2, and Solander up into that second spot. He's got David Burns still watching, thinking maybe he could sneak this one away, but this gives a big gap to Eric Lukel.
It is a big gap, Joe, but it is not enough to negate the advantages of the jump, and Lukel's gonna know that, so that is the great equalizer. Taking the shortcut there through Skyline. Lock up on the brakes for Andre Solander. That's gonna pull David Burns ever closer to him. Burns just hot on his heels.
So it's a battle for second here as they get ready to finish the last lap of this last heat of the afternoon. Lukel way up ahead. I'm going to guess that pretty much everybody in this front group is going to take the jump just to mitigate that cost. Lukel, as he approaches, no, he is going to take the racing line. Solander does too. Burns does not. Burns takes the risk. He's up and over it. He lands it, but he starts to lose control, also into the wall. Tries to accelerate away, but the car is very, very damaged. Josh Brame coming around the final corner. He's too hot into it. Can he get out of the gravel trap in time? No, Lukel will be the first, and he takes the win. Second across the line going to be Josh Brame, and it was very close. It could have been Solander or Burns. I didn't see who finished in third.
I couldn't exactly tell either. That was so close, Joe, but I want to point out the brilliance of Eric Lukel using David Burns' stricken car as, frankly, a bumper pad to be able to ping off of and carry more speed through that final corner. It's an absolutely brilliant move, and remember, Lukel opted not to take the jump for this exact reason. He knew that if he was going to be banking on some of the other drivers running into trouble. We watch these last sequence of corners now.
And from what I can tell, I went back and looked. I think it was Solander who crossed the line first. But this is going to be a judgment call based on the stewards. Let me check and see who they put. No, they put Josh Brame into third. And then fourth was Burns. So they're actually considering Solander in second. All right, interesting. Well, that was not the order that I thought it was at all. And as we watch that last little replay here, now we get into the quarterfinals. And they're gridding up things and figuring out the order. We'll give an update as soon as we see that the points are confirmed. Does appear that they've entered everything in. So it appears from the calculations that Vanderbilt will be on the pole for the grand finale with 9 points. Eric Lukel will be on the outside of the front row with 8 points. It will be David Burns starting in third with 7. No, excuse me, they're making a few more changes. Let's hold out just to make sure that we get this one correct in case they have any more tweaks here.
And Joe, I was doing a little bit of digging for you, talking about what happens in the event of a tiebreaker. It looks like that's going to go down to average finishing position if a tiebreaker does come into account. So I'm sure that's one of the things that our stewards are having to calculate out right now.
Okay, it looks like it is settled in. Halfledason starts from fourth with 5 points, and it is a three-way tie, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Neptune, Malcolm, and Young. No, four-way tie. Josh Brame also down there in 8th with 4 points. So those are your drivers there that I believe are automatically through. 6 of them are through. So whether it's Neptune, Malcolm, Young, or Brame who winds up through, we'll have to get confirmation here briefly. In the meantime, the drivers that are definitely not in include Stevenson, Claes, Sauer, Podacek, Crook, Selander, Brame, and Giros. Let's take a look over and see if they have populated the quarterfinal starting positions. Looks like not yet. So got a little bit of time as they make sure and get that underway. Well, those heats were fascinating. We got more of the same with two-lap races. But do you think after 2 chances to get used to this format, what do you think they learned out there, DJ?
Well, I think you're starting to really see the risk versus reward starting to come into play. Despite some of the dire warnings we heard about maybe bottoming out over that strip of runoff on Skyline, it seems like everybody's been able to figure that out, so that's a pretty safe way to go. But the big story, Joe, is that jump. You know, we saw in the last race Lucal being very smart and not taking it and using that to his advantage. You can gain massive amounts of time if you do it right, but I honestly think it's just a flip of the coin whether or not you end up pointing the right way. So these drivers are really having to consider that. And I frankly think that jump is the difference maker. It's the thing that is setting everything apart right now. You get it right, you can win. You get it wrong, you're going to be at the back of the grid.
If you got it right, if you got it wrong, that's for sure. As we've now got at least one driver working their way out, Selander. And I don't believe we've been given the grid for the quarterfinal quite yet. Waiting for confirmation on that one. They will obviously be competing with fewer drivers as well in this one. Do you think that'll make it tougher or easier on this group, DJ?
I think it'll make it just a hair easier. You're not really going to be running into any of the situations that we saw on the last run out with Just Jonk, where, you know, he looked like he really didn't want to take the jump and was sort of forced to via contact. So I think fewer number of cars out there is going to help. It's going to thin out the field a little bit. You're not going to have as many people fighting for the same position. So that will certainly be beneficial. As well as, you know, the draft is not that big from what we've seen. You know, yes, it's obviously very effective, but you're only running those corners, those long straights for a very limited time during this race. So the closer you can be, the more wide open of a track you guys can be, you can be on, the better.
We'll see who manages to get themselves some clear air and get away from all the chaos around them. We're just giving a few more moments here before they get the points settled. Apparently they're still working on those points to determine who will be where. As soon as we get that all nailed down, we do have Johan Vanderbilt ready to talk to us now. Oh, excuse me, no, we do not have time. It looks like they've just solidified it. So now the apologies to Johan Vanderbilt there. Our grid for the quarterfinal is going to be Andre Selander, Christopher Crook, Wojciech Podacek, Ludwig Sauer, Bram Claes, and Neil Stevenson, your 6 drivers. Now, the thing that I am watching out for on this one is that it is only the top 2 who advance in this one into the finale here, DJ. So to me, this says that if you are not leading the race, you cannot count yourself safe.
No, you have got to be going for it. And I think the guys who are going to be in third on back in this semifinal, or this quarterfinal rather, I think you're going to see them take a lot more aggressive approach. They're going to go for the jump. They're going to do things to really put themselves into a position to maybe steal a few positions. The flip of that being, for Selander and Crook, if I'm running out front, I'm going to think twice before I decide to take any of those crazy off tracks that I've seen mess other cars up. It may come back to bite him. We saw on that last run that David Burns was able to make the jump. He was able to get up over it and then lost it at the exit, but then cut the corner at the end, and that helped him out. So we'll have to see.
And here they go. Quarterfinal is underway here for the Race of Champions. Salander is off. Crook already being challenged for that bubble spot with Podezek looking to his inside down into Griffin's Bend. It's hard to defend on the outside in that corner, but still, somehow Crook successfully does so. That'll give him the inside. Down into the cutting and into the wall goes Podezek.
And that's going to allow Ludwig Sauer in that Tiger machine to pump his way forward. So good job for him. Podezek still under a lot of trouble. That's Bram Clay's coming up as well, trying to do something on him. Podezek's going to run wide again. It looks like...
Oh, he spins the tires, though. Yeah, he loses control. So Bram and Stevenson both get by, and Podezek is all the way at the tail end now. Andre Salander has control. Crook, after a nervy moment through the first corner, eventually gets himself into P2 with his teammate. Ludwig Sauer following behind. We're on board with Stevenson towards the back of the group.
Ooh, big lock up there from Andre Salander. That forces Christopher Crook offline as well. So this is going to be a very interesting fight for the transfer position here. Crook now starting to fall under a little bit of pressure from Ludwig Sauer as they head down the straightaway, lining up for the jump. Who's going to take it?
Andre Salander coming up towards the jump. And no, he will duck down along the road, but Crook is not. Crook is going to risk it despite being in a transfer position, and he's going to pay for it as he blasts into the barriers. The engine's smoking. That is his race done. Meanwhile, Andre Salander is coming through to retake the lead. Oh, behind them, I think Neil Stevenson took the jump, and I think he managed to take it successfully, but he's all out of control.
Joe, I was keeping an eye on it. Yes, you're right. Stevenson was able to take the jump successfully, but cresting over the hill before that final corner, he had the unfortunate error of running into Christopher Crook, and that sent him spinning around.
So let's take one more look at it and see how much time he gained, and then immediately gave right back because he was well far behind. Up and over. And it was a pretty good landing. Yeah, he had to take avoiding action. Oh, I mean, it was picture perfect up until that point.
It was, and he just caught everything pretty much perfectly wrong. He got boxed in a little bit by Ludwig Sauer, had no way to know what was coming up on the crest of that hill, and just had nowhere to go.
Meanwhile, Salander's lead is almost insurmountable. Ludwig almost certainly has to try and take the jump if he wants to gain some of that time back. We ride on board with our leader as he's halfway through this second lap. If he can stay put, he will automatically go through to the grand finale.
Yeah, and I really think now as we ride on board with the Tiger machine of Ludwig Sauer, I genuinely think for Sauer and Salander, they've got about a 38, 39 second gap all the way back to Wojciech Podezek running third. So I think both of these drivers are going to opt to play it cool and not take the jump on this final lap.
Well, whatever reason he has for that pickle on there, I hope that it is a lucky pickle because the 14 is going to need it here. Salander, is he going to try and cover him off by taking the jump, or is he going to go safe? No, he goes safe. Sauer behind him also decides to stay on the road. He's going to settle for staying in a second behind him. Wojciech Podezek is so far back, he's still coming through the dipper, but he's our next car that's looking to advance.
Yeah, this is going to be a guarantee, I think, at this point. Ooh, that's Salander taking that shortcut, but it pays off. Wah! He gets it over the line, at least at that point.
So he will take the win with Sauer being our next driver to advance. Podezek, oh man, if he hadn't had that mistake at the very start of the race, he could have had this one as he's going to limp through in third.
Yeah, Wojciech definitely had some speed there that was very, very good. Oh my goodness, look at the wheel. He has so much damage on that car.
Elects not to even attempt the jump with that craziness going on with his steering angle. Behind him, Stevenson still coming through and trying to limp it home just for the pride of it. Podezek, who is he going to take a cut course here? Yep, he's going to take a little bit of a shortcut knowing he is already slow.
And very impressive, actually, to keep it pointed the right way there. To watch Neil Stevenson, the last of the running drivers right now. Neil having all of those problems, makes his way over Skyline. He just wants to complete this race and get it done. Oh.
I'm not sure he's going to be able to make it to the end unless he absolutely limps it. They're already announcing the grid for the semifinal. So we'll watch him home, but as he's doing that, I can announce to you your order for this next group is going to be Frederick Neptune on the pole, Joost Jonk starting in second, Christopher Giros starts in the third, Vincent Brame, P4 for him, followed by Andre Solander on the inside of the last row, and on the outside, it's going to be Ludwig Sauer.
I think judging by what we saw on that last time out, Solander and Sauer starting in the back, they're going to be ones to keep an eye on, but that front row also very, very strong with Frederick Neptune and Joost Jonk.
And apologies, it is not the top two of the last race that automatically advanced. They advanced to this semifinal, and now it's the top four that will advance to the grand finale. So they survived, and they have to do it yet again by advancing up one or two spots to be able to go through and find themselves in the grand finale 10. We're waiting for them to accelerate away, and it is going to be Neptune who has control, waiting patiently. He's taken them for a while. You can see all three of those teammates in line on the right-hand side of the track, and now he goes. The 666 is off and away, trying to cover off. Look at Jonk absolutely chop across the front of Giros, and it's going to allow him to hold on to second.
Very heads-up move there for Joost Jonk, just trying to blunt any momentum that he can, but Christopher Giros not happy about it at all. He is right up behind the tailpipe of Joost Jonk, gives him a little bit of the chrome horn.
Bump drafting at Bathurst, and it slams him into the wall. I don't think there's anything in the rules against that. He didn't absolutely shove him in there, just gave him a little too much speed that Jonk was not used to. Oh, and that causes a problem behind as Brame and Sauer get into one another.
Oh, they're going to be turned around. It looks like they're towing as of right now, so they're not going to like it. Brame staying out on track at least. Joost Jonk bringing up the back of this pack right now, but up front we've got a battle between Neptune and Giros.
Neptune has one of the transfer positions, so does his other two teammates, Giros and Solander. The person on the bubble is Jonk, who might be a little bit damaged the way he's moving slow right now. Lock up down into the forest elbow, way too deep into there, and our leader's in the wall.
He is. That's going to allow for Christopher Giros to sneak on by him. Definitely some damage. Looks like something going on in the right front of that car, potentially, Joe. It just looks slightly out of kilter, and indeed, look at how quick Andre Solander's catching.
Will they go for the jump, or are they all going to settle for the racing line? Giros stays on the track. So does Solander. Neptune does not. And is it successful? Wow! That was perhaps the best jump I've seen anybody make, and with a damaged car on top of it.
Up onto two wheels, pulling it off perfectly, but I have some bad news for fans of the Junkyard Dog. The jump didn't go so well for Joost Jonk. He has got some massive car damage.
Oh man, Joost has had the worst luck with that jump today. He once again found himself into the wall. We're going to take a look at the replay real quick to see how much damage he gets out of this. You can see him chasing. He's in fourth. He's already in the transfer spot. He really just had to bring it home. I don't think he's going to be in the transfer spot after this, though.
No, just doesn't land it right on all four tires, right into the tire barrier. Hard hit that really, really messes up everything. And Joe, indeed, there he goes. He is officially out of the transfer spot with Vincent Brame and Ludwig Sauer getting up around him.
And Brame, I think, recovering from his spin on lap one, is in fourth, but just barely. Sauer definitely giving him chase. Oh, but Ludwig's in the grass. How does he stop the car behind him, slamming into the wall? Joost Jonk trying to drive that thing the rest of the way, and unfortunately, it didn't have enough of it left to try and finish.
Yeah, just not going to get it there, but there he is running by himself right now, being able to get ahead.
Oh, I tell you what, that damage from doing the jump, Frederick Neptune seems to be slow because he's already been overtaken by Solander and Giros. So that is going to be a tough one to recover from unless he takes the jump again. But how lucky can you get twice? As down the hill goes Vincent Brame.
And here we go, lining up for the jump, getting ready to do it. This is your top three, Giros, Solander, and Neptune. Who's going to take it, who's not? Oh, fake out. Giros is going to take it.
And does he have it successfully? Oh, it's not looking good. Oh, he just misses the clip on the wall that others have fallen victim to. I think Christopher is going to be able to successfully win this quarterfinal and get himself, or semifinal, and get himself into the finale. Behind him, Solander finishes in second. Neptune is going to limp in third. Who is going to be the last one through? Vincent Brame trying to take it. Zauer is a long way back, and the 25 is not going to be challenged. So, the last car through, Vincent Brame, as Zauer and Yonk unfortunately just miss the cutoff. Wow, what a semifinal that was to determine our grand finale.
Absolutely incredible spate of action there. Used Yonk's Gay just going from bad to worse. But now, Joe, it is time for us to start to line up for the big finish, the finale here at Bathurst.
Absolutely. We've got the full order set now. Johan van der Velde, as we mentioned, on the pole. Eric Lukal will be starting in second. Then it is David Burns starting in the third position. Michael Haflidason starts in fourth. DJ rounding out our first half that automatically were transferred through. And the last one, Scott Malcolm, starting from fifth.
Scott Malcolm's going to be fifth, followed by Josh Brain behind him. To the inside of row 4 will be Christopher Giros, and outside him, Andre Solander. And then making up the last row of the field will be the Triton, Frederick Neptune, and Vincent Breme.
Johan is eager to go. He's already gridded up out there. As a few drivers are just having fun at this point down in the pit lane. Obviously, not everybody is going to be racing. As some more burnouts from our pole sitter, trying to make sure that he's got plenty in those tires ready to go. Malcolm slowly creeping his way out along with Solander and Brain. Quite a bit of wind here as well, as the smoke certainly is dissipating quite quickly. 13 miles an hour wind. And I don't think that's affecting the cars too much, as these are very heavy vehicles, but just something to note, just in case. I wonder if the wind affects the cars mid-air. That's something that I don't think I've ever really considered on iRacing, DJ.
I don't know, Joe, but I may be running some experiments later today to figure that out, because, that would be something interesting to consider.
What is the maximum wind you can actually set this to? That makes me curious now. How high can you make it go? Because I guess that's really what you do, is you set it at 0, come somewhere like here where you can get a lot of air and do the jump, and then set it at maximum and try it again, eh?
I just took a quick look over to the UI, and you can set it to 30 miles an hour is the fastest and most it can go.
That's faster than some pit lane speeds.
You're not wrong.
All right, 10 cars, our biggest field, and they are ready to go as they start to creep away on our pace lap, quote unquote. And it is going to be Van der Velde who decides when they accelerate. He waits. And looking to hold this one a little bit long here in that green and black Tiger car. Now he goes. But it's not a great start. Lukal is good on his outside. It's going to be a challenge for the lead down into the first corner. This is for all the marbles here. Lukal can't hold on. He's in too deep. That's going to give second to Haflidason.
And that's going to allow for David Burns to start to look up at Lukal as well. Some contact in the back there.
Trying to see who that involved. Looks like Brame gets turned around. Everybody else able to keep going. So we are clean up into the first portion of the mountain, and it is Michael Haflidason in the 81 giving chase on Johan van der Velde. We're on board with Michael as we ride on board his white Ford Falcon coming into the McPhillamy Park section. Let's see who can manage to run the downhill quicker than the other.
And once again, everybody taking that shortcut. Very, very aggressive line there for our leader. You saw him get his left side tires off into the grass. That's a one-way ticket to disaster, but he was able to keep it under him. Haflidason now just stalking behind. Big right front lockup, though.
Oh, and that compromises his exit off of Forest Elbow. So now Vandenbelt has a little bit of a better lead. But look at how much they've stretched ahead of Lucal and Burns behind them. They've pulled themselves a handy. Again, this could change significantly depending on who does what through the chase. Vandenbelt's going to take the jump. He's going to risk it. And will it pay off? It looks good. Vandenbelt lands it. Burns does as well. Brain does, but sideways, and he's going to get shoved back onto his wheels as Solander gives him a tip.
Oh, and David Burns really overcooking it down into that final corner. He's going to hit the wall. Also, Haflidason spinning out. It looks like that Solander now is going to shuffle around into third place with Lucal behind him. Solander really trying to put the moves on David Burns.
So who accrued the most damage out of that? That played a part in the leader at the end of the second lap at last race. Vandenbelt looks pretty decent. Burns also took the jumps. He looks about the same in terms of damage. Solander giving chase. I don't believe, no, he did take the jump. And I think Lucal, the first one that did not.
If damage is to be believed, Joe, yes, Lucal did not take the jump. He still has that rear wing on the Ford. We ride on board with Eric right now as they make their way up the hill. He is looking ahead. There looks like there was a lockup there in front from David Burns as Lucal tries to work his way around Solander.
And this is going to be tough to make that pass, especially if Andre is slow along this portion. Passing along here is so difficult that he could be losing time and trying to beat Vandenbelt and Burns. As they come up and over and then back down. This is where everything is quite literally downhill from here. Through the dipper. Vandenbelt has a big lead at the moment, multiple seconds over David Burns. I almost think that if Vandenbelt wanted to, he could take the racetrack instead of the jump.
Just maybe. Oh, but Andre Solander into the wall, coming down off the hill. That's going to move Lucal up into third.
Who dares take the risk? Heading towards the jump. Vandenbelt looks like he's going for it. He is indeed. Aims it up. Oh, but he doesn't make it. He doesn't get over the top of it. David Burns does. But Burns hits the wall, and he's stuck in the wall. Who is going to take this? Lucal takes the jump. He is successfully through. The 42, through a stroke of luck and a nice leap over the barrier, is going to be able to take the win here. And the race of champions, Haflidason will be following him across into second. And Solander, who is going to creep home into fourth. Third, another one lucky here at the end with others around, just falling victim to the perils of trying to get the car in the air.
Just an absolute comedy of errors to finish out this race of champions, Joe. We watch Johan Vandenbelt. You hit the nail on the head. He just didn't get the air to actually clear that tire barrier and make the jump. He was too far to the left when he did it. And you could see he got a little out of sorts, had to overcorrect the car, and bam! Straight into the wall. And then you see Burns flying by as well. And Burns just didn't get it to work, and he got stuck in the wall. That allowed Lucal to go by.
Here's another look at Burns going from many, many miles an hour. There's the jump. Almost looks like a horse the way he goes over that. If the car hadn't veered right like that, I think he would have been okay.
I think you're right, and if he had frankly just glanced the wall there or even had a hard hit on it, I still think he could have gotten it. Now here is, I believe this is Solander. Solander takes the jump, barely gets it in, slams hard into the wall. Very lucky he didn't roll it, and then has the sense of mind to go, oh wait, that's Haflidason, that's second place, I can still make third. There you see more contact behind him, and he just limps his way across the line.
Not the finest example of some magnificent jumps we've seen today, but I think that is going to take us to a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel as we watch Lucal decide to take it for the first time on the second lap, and that is what paid dividends for him in the end. Stick around because we have the unofficial results as well as driver interviews coming your way in just a moment.
iRacing is a sim racing game. that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12-Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Bathurst. It was a fun race of champions here for the Absolute Beginners League, and in the end, that man took the victory, Eric Lukal, with the win here. And then in second, it was Michael Haflidason. Third went to Andre Solander, with fourth to Josh Brain. Fifth to Scott Malcolm, and then from there on down, many of the drivers didn't even manage to finish this race, unfortunately. But I do believe that we have our victor here to talk to us. Eric, we saw you were one of the few cars on that first lap to decide not to take the jump. Do you think that was your key to victory, staying patient and wait for the second one to take it?
Yeah, hey guys. I think that was really key for this race. I started in P2, so I had much to lose in the first lap, but not as much to win. So I thought it would be better to have a car with no damage for the second lap. And then on the second lap, I thought, okay, it's all or nothing now. And I'm very glad the risk paid off.
Certainly looked like you had this one down, considering how many points you managed to rack up in the heat races. I mean, was there any special trick to doing that leap that you found? To do the leap, it was just a bit of practice. You had to hit it correctly. And yeah, the heats for me were actually pretty much the same as the final. I always didn't take much risks. The other drivers laughed a bit about that, but it paid off for me. So yeah, I'm happy about that. Everybody else is laughing until you wind up being the one ahead at the finish. I saw that there's a championship belt painted on Johan van der Belt's car. You going to do something similar for the next race of champions after next season?
Well, I actually didn't think about that yet, but I might do a little tribute to his livery. I've never been the champion of the Race of Champions before, so yeah, I now have some time to think about something special.
Well, congratulations on your first crown for this one. We hope to get to talk to you more when the next season begins.
Much. Cheers, guys.
As Eric Lukal, winner here in the Race of Champions. And then up next, I believe we have our second place finisher, Michael Haflidason. DJ's caught up with him.
Well, Michael, I think above all else, that just looked like it was the absolute most fun thing to drive in the world. How was your Race of Champions, my friend?
Oh, it was amazing. I haven't been driven in the ABL for like the whole season. I've been missing the guys really much, and I got an opportunity to drive, and I said yes, and I do not regret it at all.
I'm sure. I mean, it just looked like it was a bunch of laughs. So I have to ask, obviously, the big sort of equalizer in this was the jump. Do you have any tricks for getting it exactly right? Because you certainly nailed it a couple of times.
I kind of just went pedal to the metal and hoped for the best, really. Saw some other guys kind of making it, so I tried their line and it worked out.
Well, work out for you. I would certainly say it did. Were you watching everybody else's heat races, trying to pick up a few things, or when you were in the middle, of the races, were you just kind of relaxing and going, okay, I just need to stay in the game here?
Well, when I wasn't driving, I was just laughing and pissing my pants almost because we had so fun tonight, and I mean, just watching everybody, the mayhem, it was amazing fun. And when I was driving, it was kind of the same, just like laughing all the way.
Fantastic. I can guarantee you we were doing the exact same thing in the booth. Michael, congratulations on a well-earned second in this year's Race of Champions.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the organizers and the broadcaster for hosting this.
Thank you. That was your second place finisher, Michael Haflidason. And Joe, who have you caught up with?
Well, I'm double checking because we don't have our third or fourth place finisher here. Fifth was Scott Malcolm. We have Burns, and we have Johan Vanderbilt. And I think Burns finished ahead of him in eighth. Eighth place finish after starting a little bit higher up than that, but just couldn't capitalize on it in the end. We were talking, David, to the other drivers, including our winner. Eric said that he felt like it was much more important to wait on the jump. I don't believe you were one of those that waited for that second lap for the jump. What made you decide to go for it on lap one?
I honestly don't know, to be honest. I'd practiced it quite a bit, so I thought I could make it. And most of the times I could. I had a certain technique for doing it. I'm just so annoyed it didn't work for that last bit. I got stuck in the wall. I just couldn't make it. No.
Now, on the surface, this race didn't... you say, okay, you're taking the Ford Falcon to Bathurst, and usually the Race of Champions is all kinds of wacky things. So this one doesn't sound that wacky until we get here and see what the racing produces. What inspired this decision?
To be honest, it was actually Ludwig's idea. He had the birth of the idea many, many weeks ago, right at the start of the season. And to be honest, we've just worked on it since then, working on timings, working on the setup, working on the jump, practicing some races, and it just fitted. It's the longest Race of Champions we've ever done, and we weren't sure if it was going to work. Obviously, we had to reduce the number of heats to make sure we could fit in the hour, but it just worked so well. And I hope it worked well in the broadcast, because it was a lot of fun to actually do. We just couldn't tell who was going to take a jump, who wasn't going to take a jump. It was just utter madness.
Oh, I can tell you it worked pretty well from our perspective. It was a joy for us to call. That said, has there been any ideas touted for next season, potentially?
Not at the moment for a Race of Champions, but we're going to have to top that one. I think it's going to be difficult to try and beat that, to be honest.
Well, you've got a new off-road course now with a big... was it Big Lake, I think it's called? My mind is blanking right now, but something to think about, I'm sure. Regardless, commiserations that it wasn't a higher finish in the finale, but thanks for giving us so much fun today.
Cheers, guys. It was a lot of fun.
It was a ton of fun to watch for us, as I think that is going to wrap us up for the afternoon. And of course, we want to thank the Absolute Beginners League for bringing us in to cover their Race of Champions once again. This is really one of the joys of the season for us. And of course, we want to thank the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcasts that are listed here on your screen. By the way, that was Bear Creek, I believe I was thinking of a little bit earlier. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. And thanks to the team today, DJ, Ryan, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. And if you'd like to support us, check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storenvy.com. We got a link in the description below. But while you're down there, make sure and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar, including the Majors. Grand Prix of Long Beach is coming up this evening. We already had the Formula 3 Masters a little bit earlier for the Euro region, and it's back to the States for the Americas. That'll be at 8 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.